think that's I'm all about, you guys have been around me a lot. Personal accountability, right? I mean, that's where it all starts, right? And having those personal experiences in order to distribute and disseminate to other people that are just ignorant, right? I mean, not everyone has the same opportunities to be around. I was blessed, once again, to play football, to play a sport and a position that was it's dominated.
Right.
Completely 100% dominated by the African American community. Why? Because there's better athletes out in space. It is what it is. That's what happens. So I was blessed with that opportunity, but not everybody else is blessed with that opportunity. Not everyone has the same friends as me, right? With a diverse background. So it's hard because you're right. Mainstream media, also pop media, hip hop culture as well. It's awesome. It's something that I've consumed, right? And not all of it, right? I was introduced to different forms of hip hop culture growing up with, luckily, once again, African American friend that introduced me to breakdancing of all things. You know what I mean? Like, what's the chances? His sister was a professional dancer for Soul Train. And so I'd go and learn how to dance. I learned how to, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like, not everyone is experiencing that. So how can they become, more astute, more educated about the culture that they have no tangible experiences with? And, I guess that's kind of our issue right now is there's a lot here let's just talk about our community, state of Utah, BYU community. As I was mentioning about to Brian and Desi, when you're an African American within this community, there are pros and cons. The pro is you're a celebrity, right? The con is there are misconceptions about who you are, and they automatically jump to those conclusions about who you are, what you value, how you think, what your strengths and weaknesses are, right? There's stereotypes that you jump to because of what you mentioned, mainstream media, because of whatever reasons, rather than just getting to know that individual. They don't have that opportunity, they don't have that blessing. So, I think that's important. I honestly think from a community standpoint, it'd be really good to have, as I mentioned, and I've talked about for a long time, and it's honestly, I take accountability for not bringing the community together even more, but to have a better African American community of brothers and sisters to hopefully disseminate that message within your specific communities. I know you do it in your community, right, Brandon?
I try my best.
You try your best while taking care of your kids and your family. But I saw your Instagram post, right before the show. I was kind of perusing to see what you had said. Took your boy out fishing over the weekend, right? Your biggest fear is that your son is not safe in a world that is not necessarily as friendly to the African Americans as they need to be. African American males, specifically, right? Because of the stereotypes. Mm-hmm. And that's important to point out, because once you start talking about family and protection, I mean, fathers out there listening, imagine thinking, you're looking at your son, you're fishing with him, and you're thinking, what does the future hold for this young man? Is he going to be safe due to the color of his skin? That he can't change.
Right. That, and I over these past couple weeks, it's become more evident to me that this issue is made to be more difficult than it needs to be. The understanding of this issue. Mm-hmm. Correct that. As a father, right? No matter what race you are, no matter what your background, your culture, any of that, right? We can relate to one thing, like you just mentioned. As a father, I want to protect my family, period. Okay? The death of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and Trayvon Martin and all the other ones that have been killed in an unnecessary situation. The one thing that we as the human race can understand, or should be able to understand and relate to, is that someone lost their life, period. Right?
Yeah.
The thing is that's difficult is that that often gets forgotten. And now it goes from, instead of us being concerned about someone lost their life and why did it happen that way, and what can we do to fix it so it won't happen, it's more so, well, what did he do? Right? Mm-hmm. Or why didn't he do this? Or why didn't she do this? Oh, well, 5 years ago, he got arrested for having weed. 17 years ago, he got arrested for stealing chips out of the gas station. You know what I mean? So now it becomes from us supporting and feeling bad for the death of a human being to one side trying to defend, you know.
You're judging his character now.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
What type of person he was, did he actually deserve to live?
Right. So
you're
one
undermining
side,
the value
exactly.
of life.
One's trying to defend that, no, this was wrong, while the other side is trying to prove almost that it was okay because he was a criminal or she was a criminal anyway. You know what I mean? So we missed the point. Someone died unnecessarily. That is what your focus should be, and that's how we need to focus to fix that. Yeah. Instead of debating whether or not he deserved it or she deserved it or not. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I feel like that gets lost because of it's not certain people's reality. It doesn't have to be. All of us have lost a loved one.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And we know what that pain feels like. We know what that sadness feels like, that anger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all know that. So if you can't understand it to the extent of this is wrong, this was a black man killed by the hands of the justice system that's supposed to protect him, then understand it from the standpoint that a life was lost. A mom lost a child lost his father, right? A friend lost his friend. The black community lost another person in a situation that it didn't need to happen because we all can relate to the loss of someone we care about. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's wild too to think about like all the stuff that came out after the fact, like he had COVID or he had a fake $20 bill. It's like, does that justify him living or dying?
Yeah, his past crimes were brought up.
Yeah, like what?
He held a gun to a pregnant woman. Like,
yeah, always.
And like, there's some stuff.
And I'm not trying to say that that's right. Yeah. I'm not saying that those past infractions are right.
Right or wrong, it doesn't justify.
But those on the right that are trying to justify the killing, or they're saying that this wasn't a perfect man, and why is the black community making him out to be a hero or a martyr? Right? They're saying, and then if I know that there's been other news of other people dying during riots and during violence and other black lives lost, which all lives, in that sense, we're talking about, like, yes, all lives do matter. All life is precious. All life is should be celebrated. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness with accountability and justice for all is what I say, right? So there needs to be accountability and justice for those individuals that took the other black life. I think it was... I can't remember. He was a retired police officer that died trying to protect a store during a riot and looting. So like all of those matter. But the point is, George Floyd maybe shouldn't be celebrated as like a hero, but he lost his life unjustly. Therefore, the first thing that should be addressed is the accountability of the police officers.
For sure.
And real quick, I don't think people see George Floyd as a hero. What I think people see his situation as something that has caused something that looks like possible change, right? Yeah. And it's being celebrated in his name, you know what I mean? But it's the situation that has brought light and conversation and the hope for change. You know what I mean?
This ESPN 960 highlight has been brought to you by Ortho Pros of Utah.